In a time and place when you can work from anywhere,
two ladies in their mid to late 27s have decided to.
And they're calling it workationing.
The ladies have learned their lesson from Medellín.
This time, they're knocking out their bucket list item first.
I'm still bitter about that Pablo Escobar thing.
What will it be like to float in an isolation tank?
Will they hallucinate?
Will they be claustrophobic?
How many panic attacks can you have in 90 minutes in the dark?
I mostly just didn't know what to do with my arms.
This is the Workationing Podcast.
So what do you think of the Sky Palace?
It is quite palatial, I must
Isn't it?
say.
Isn't it? Do you like the disco theme? I personally am a big fan.
I see the amount of time that you spend in the disco shower.
I love the disco shower.
It is very good.
I think we need to have a whole episode about the Sky Palace and the disco theme and the people who live here.
Oh, and we absolutely will. But not now.
No.
No.
No, not now.
No, this is a different episode.
This is the bucket list episode, and we're just kicking this leg of workationing off with our bucket list item.
Yes, we are. We learned our lesson in Medellín, and we are not making that mistake again. We are seizing our bucket list by the balls.
We are. By the ovaries, maybe?
By the buckets?
By the buckets?
I don't know. We're seizing
By
it.
the handle?
Perhaps.
Is there a hole in your bucket? Dear Liza?
Well, this one isn't falling out.
It's not. We have this bucket list item in the bucket.
Yeah, and this is one that's been on my personal list for a really long time.
Ever since I heard about it. So let's tell everyone first where we are. We are in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Exotic.
Very exotic. Do you like all the snow on the ground?
No.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either.
It's a real kick in the dick, I gotta tell you.
We came here just in time for a legitimate snow emergency.
Yeah, I mean, I was glad to get out of Medellín, but like this is a lot. The Sky Palace is fantastic, but the weather sucks.
Well, listen, we're just going to have a quick pop over here, and then we're going to go up to Montreal, and I'm sure the weather's going to be better there.
Yes. It must be.
It can't be any worse. So our bucket list item is, drumroll please, floating in an isolation tank.
Yes. I've wanted to do this since I was like 18 years old, and I was taking an existential philosophy class, and I had a big old crush on my professor, and he would talk about how he would do this in like the 70s or whatever all the time.
You know, I didn't know that this was that old. I heard about it, I think, on the Tim Ferriss podcast first, and then I mentioned it to Redacted, and you know, Redacted's a little bit older than I am.
Just a bit?
Just like 19 years. Nobody's counting. And turns out he used to do this all the time in grad school.
Ah. You know who else does it?
Who? Joe Rogan?
Well, and Steph Curry. I won't usually mention his name. Go Cavs.
You have a sickness, lady.
I'm sorry, that was a tick. Did I? It just happens sometimes.
But we should talk about the floating, right?
Yes.
So turns out the isolation tank was created in 1954 by a guy named John C. Lilly. And in doing this research, I found out all kinds of cool things about this guy, besides the fact that he likes to be photographed in a coonskin hat.
Oh.
Interesting character. So,
Little Davy Crockett action.
I don't get it at all. Exploring a new frontier. John C. Lilly was the first person to map pain and pleasure pathways in the brain. So he's a little nutty, but he's a smart kind of nut.
Well, and this was back in like the 1950s when the government would just hand you a whole bunch of money to do weird shit with psychedelics.
Well, listen, he took that money and he took some psychedelics, specifically LSD, did extensive experimentation with that. And I don't know if this was before, during, or after, but he founded an entire branch of science exploring interspecies communication between humans, dolphins, and whales.
That's fucking incredible. I have to tell you, I really, really admire the grift of those people in the 50s who convinced the government that they needed a whole lot of money to study LSD to fight the Russians. You know, somehow.
But we got Flipper out of that, I am sure.
I'm sure.
I'm sure this is where Flipper came.
And probably all sorts of music.
Fantasia.
Fantasia for sure.
Okay, so the isolation tank is, it looks like a refrigerator box turned on its side.
Yes.
And you kind of step into it, and there's only 11 inches of water in this big black metal box. And the water is kept at a skin receptor neutral, 93.5 degrees. So you can't tell where your body ends and where the water begins, supposedly. There are 850 pounds of Epsom salt.
Which is just a lot more than I thought, which we'll get into later.
In this your refrigerator box.
A surprising amount of Epsom salt.
Just a very, very lot of Epsom salt. And that gives you a level of buoyancy that was kind of weird, I have to say.
It was good for me, though, because there really isn't, what is there, like 10 inches of water in there?
11 inches, yeah.
Because I'm rocking just a real badunkadunk, and I was kind of worried about
bottoming out.
like an old pickup truck. But no, I wasn't scraping bottom.
I did not have that concern with my hats. But you don't have to fight gravity, and the temperature of everything feels like the temperature of your body. And the water, in case you're wondering about the cleanliness of this situation, the water is filtered 3 times between each floating session, and it's sanitized using UV light and peroxide. So we were pretty sure that we weren't going to catch some sort of weird float disease.
Yeah, it seemed pretty legit. It seemed I don't know.
Listen, it seemed pretty legit is the way that a lot of really bad stories start for me.
Yeah.
It seemed okay at the time.
Yeah, it seemed fine.
So apparently there have been clinical studies that show that there are numerous benefits to REST float therapy. Some of these benefits include reducing stress by lowering cortisol levels,
which helps you get rid of your tum-tum.
Hey, I signed up for that
Hell
away. I would have been all in right on that.
Float your way to abs.
Yes, please. That sounds way better than Pilates.
Yes.
You can also use it to manage chronic pain. There are a lot of case studies and testimonials online of people who have chronic pain or injury or an illness even, and they at least receive psychological benefit from it, but a lot of people report feeling physically better as well. Float therapy can be used to help fight addiction and depression. It also has been known to elevate your mood, and it can improve sports performance. Steph Curry. Psh. I mean, listen, I wasn't running any faster when I came out of that tank.
LeBron doesn't need the tank.
I have a brochure. Kelly and I went to Float Boston, floatboston.com. if you're interested in checking out that website. But I picked up this handy dandy brochure, and it says that people have cut strokes off of their golf game, developed complex scientific theories, I don't know about that, and drafted whole portions of books while floating. Now, did they draft that in their head?
I was going to say they bring their laptop in there because that seems like against the rules.
Also,
a really good way to get electrocuted.
Yes. Right? I don't know. Maybe they just memorize it. So I read this brochure. It has lots of good things. It kind of reiterates a lot of what we just talked about, so I won't get into it too much, but I was excited.
I really was
hopes.
too. No, I really had wanted to do this for a really long time. I think Kari and I are both people who have a real interest in exploring consciousness.
Yeah.
And listen, I've got this one spin on Earth, and I'm going to take it for a ride.
Yes. Fast. Please.
Yeah. And so this seemed like a really cool way to kind of explore my mind in ways that I hadn't before.
Well, and if I'm being honest, besides the whole reducing stress thing, I was in it for the hallucinations.
Yeah, just a little psychedelic experience.
That sounds wonderful to me. And a lot of people report having crazy hallucinations in this dark-ass floaty isolation tank.
Yeah, listen, we were just trying to party on a Tuesday.
You know,
alone in a refrigerator box.
Sure. Why not? I've never done that before. Sounds like a cool story, bro.
Right.
So there were 2 options with the amount of time that we could have gone. There was the 60 minutes, and then there was the 90 minutes.
And we went 90. We went to fucking Medellín. We don't mess around.
No, we are not trying to fuck around with a 60 minutes.
Mm-mm.
Do we look like pussies to you? I think not.
No, what if the hallucinations had just kicked in?
That's what I was thinking. Like, what if the hallucinations started kicking in at like 58 minutes in? No, I want all of the hallucination.
Yeah, so we definitely went 90.
Also, it was a better value for your money.
Yeah.
You save like $15 off of the per minute price.
Yeah, it's a good
By
deal.
Going 90. It was a good deal.
Economical Gringas over here.
Gringas on a budget.
Right.
So we went to Float Boston, which was like an hour away from the Sky Palace in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
It was a cute part of town.
Yeah, it was really cute.
I don't know what I was expecting this place to look like. I was thinking maybe like a day spa or like where you go and get waxed, like maybe in a larger building. It was kind of in an outdoor strip mall.
Yeah, and it looked a little spa-like. You know, it looked like maybe you could get a facial there. That's not what they were offering.
No, they did not.
But you come in and it's almost like when you get your nails done and they offer you some slippers. I went right for the basket of discarded wet slippers trying to put those on. And the girl was like, girl, no.
No.
And I was like, oh, I was going to say, these are a little wet.
We also,
you really can't take me anywhere.
we were trying to be modest because we were like, well, do you float naked? I Googled it.
Yeah, that didn't seem right, the whole naked thing.
Well, I didn't want to offend anybody by showing up, say, in swimsuit and just like, hey, I'm here
to free ball it in your isolation tank.
In case that wasn't acceptable.
Yeah, but then we whipped out the bathing suits and she gave us the side eye. And we were like, so naked then.
We did all right. Okay. So then we got showed into 2 separate rooms.
Yes. And it's sort of, so the tank is in there, but then there's also just this shower in there. Mm-hmm. And because you have to shower before and after, mm-hmm. which is a little weird, I have to say.
Well,
I mean, I see the point. It's a good idea. Mm-hmm. I'm glad yes. for it. But yes. Just stripping down and taking a shower in a place you've never been before. And there's like no walls on this shower?
No, it's just a shower in a corner with a drain.
Yeah, it felt a little prison-y, I'm not going to lie.
It really did. I'm so happy you said that. I was trying to stay positive about it. It did feel very prison-y. And when you step inside of this box, you can't stand up in it. It really almost looks like a refrigerator laid down on its back.
Yeah.
And so you open the refrigerator door and you can't stand up in your refrigerator when it's on its back. You can sit up in it, though.
Yeah.
It's just deep enough for you to sit up in. You're not really going to hit your head on anything. I'm only 5'4", though.
Yeah.
If I were a taller man, I don't know.
I mean, I'm 5'10", and you know I'm just 90% torso, and I could sit up in there.
Okay, all right. So we strip down. We take our pre-shower. Uh-huh. We strip down in separate rooms.
Yeah.
And there are actually 2 tank options. Again, Kelly and I kept it as weird as possible.
Yeah.
There was a pansy one where if you need a little bit of light.
Yeah, it looks like
you need a little light.
Yeah, what?
Feel a little claustrophobic.
Afraid of your own mind?
Yeah.
Which I am. But, but you could go in these, there are ones, they're called like, I forget, like twilight tanks or something like that. But they have a whole sky. They're like a light up sky above you. And you can actually stand up in that if you need to. It's got like a higher ceiling. There's light. I wasn't feeling it.
No. I mean, I didn't even look at it. I might have felt it had I been in there, but...
No, I wanted to feel like someone threw me in the hole.
Me too. Black hole.
Yes.
A warm, cozy black hole where I don't know where to put my arms.
Yeah. It was warm. I'll give it that. I really wasn't cold.
No, I was never cold.
I thought I would be.
So I stepped into the tank, and my first thought once I laid back was, because it took a minute to get adjusted, they had this little floaty pillow thing that you could put behind your head. We had these earplugs. They were like silicone earplugs that kind of covered your whole outer ear, too. They were very serious earplugs. I was happy to have them, though, because I don't like getting water in my ears.
Yeah.
I was a swimmer in high school. That was a big problem for me.
Swimmer's ear.
Oh, no thank
bueno.
you. Had I had those, though, in high school, I would have worn them every time.
You would have looked great, too.
Those earplugs were dope.
Very styling.
So I shut that door. I got situated. Before I could even figure out what to do with my hands, my first thought was, how long is it going to take for me to suffocate in this tank?
Yeah, I think listen, time kind of goes away in there, but I spent a lot of the time wondering how much air I had. Because
it smelled a little humid.
Yeah.
Little salty, musky.
Yeah, it was like, do they just put bodies in here and then eventually they die and they just decompose in this place? I had thoughts like that.
It didn't smell bad per se, but I'll tell you that the air wasn't fresh, and that was concerning for me.
Yeah. My real issue is I got in there. I didn't go with the floaty pillow. I went with the pool noodle behind the neck.
Okay. They have options for you.
Yeah. We love a good option. So I went the pool noodle behind the neck. My main problem was that I was very determined to get a lot out of this. And so I got in there. I was all business. But then as soon as I would get in there, it's actually kind of bigger than a refrigerator. It's as wide, as deep as a refrigerator on its back, but it's wider. And so you're in there and you're floating, but I was always constantly moving somehow. And I kept running into the walls, and then I'd be like, oh, and I'd push myself off that wall, and I'd think I did it very gently, and then I'd steadied myself, and now I'm centered. And then the next thing I know, I'm banging my head.
That happened to me too. that was distracting.
I was just hitting the walls constantly.
Well, and then I go to figure out how to solve this problem. And I'm like, well, clearly I need some sort of anchor with a belt tied around my waist that keeps me in place so that I don't touch the sides. Because you're not touching anything. And then all of a sudden you touch the side of the wall. And I cannot tell you how completely pitch black it is. I would stand up and try and get some more air in there occasionally. But it would be the third wall that I would try. That would be the one that I could open the door to. And the door wasn't heavy. It was really easy to open. Once you found it, you knew that you had it.
Yeah.
But, there were brief moments of panic as to like, well, which one is it? Am I going to find it?
Well, and I was just kind of pinwheeling in there. Just, I was just kind of spinning around and running into walls and shit. And like every time I'd get settled, I'd run into something again. The weirdest thing for me was that I really meant to get in there and do some serious internal work. I was ready. I was prepared.
Me too.
And I could not even concentrate on any of that. My overwhelming feeling the entire time I was in there was, oh my God, I am so bored. Just so bored. I was so bored that it distracted me from everything else. And I don't know if like maybe I need more practice. Like we live this life where it's, we constantly have like 3 things going at once.
Right.
And so my brain just literally doesn't even know what to do with nothing.
My brain kind of liked it. Once I got to the point, so I do this on planes, and planes are the only other, airplane rides are the only other time that I can think of that I do this. But I just resign myself to death.
Right.
Like if this plane is going down, there is exactly nothing I can do about it.
Right.
And so, I can freak out about it, or I can just be like, well, this is my time. And that's kind of what I thought about with the breathing situation.
Right.
I thought to myself, how many people have really died? You could be the first one. You've got bad luck sometimes, Kari. But about 15, who knows, 15, 20 minutes in, I'll say, I just kind of resigned myself to that death.
There you
go.
If
it was going to happen.
That's the spirit.
And I meditate a lot. So I thought I was going to be good at this. I thought that maybe I could be like a competitive floater.
Yeah. She's been floating for 27 days, ladies and gentlemen.
I know.
It's mostly just pee in there now.
Oh, I wonder if the pee would float to the top or sink to the bottom with all that salt. I don't. Ooh, questions.
We need a scientist.
I do. I didn't pee in it though, and I didn't die. And I kind of tried to meditate. I had a very difficult time figuring out the hand place.
Yeah.
Because if you went too wide with it, they would tap on the walls.
Right.
And I didn't really like it on my stomach.
No, because then you're touching yourself. And so now you're it's kind of almost reintroducing touch back into the equation.
It is.
It's very distracting. Suddenly your whole brain is just your hand touching your stomach.
Yes. And I experienced that. And so I took my hand away and then had a different sensation of all I could focus on were the droplets of water rolling off of my skin.
Yeah.
My face itched. So I scratched my face. And then it was just like droplets of water.
Oh, and you have
to
be careful because they warn you before you get in that if you get this salt water into your eyes, that it's going to burn like a motherfucker.
You are not going to have a good time. So what did I do?
Just right away.
I rubbed my eyes. Well, because I got some of the water droplets and I went to go wipe it away. And then I knew what she was talking about. So I got the opportunity to let a little more air into my tank as I ran for the towel. That was right. They keep a spray bottle of clean water so you can hose your face down in the event that happens to you. I was grateful for that in the moment.
Right. So for me, it was not very relaxing. But it wasn't really anxiety inducing either. It was just kind of weird and long and wet.
It was weird, long, and wet. And after I got the water droplet situation taken care of and then resolved to not touch any of the parts of my body that were outside of the water, because, again, it's very distracting to have the water rolling off of your skin.
Yeah.
It was not good. Then I was able to get into kind of like a relaxed, meditative state. And then the next thing I know, you're banging on my door.
Yeah, because what happened was...
What had happened was...
after about 32 years of flotation and trying to figure out what to do with my hands, suddenly I hear music. And I had literally forgotten I was even still on Earth. I'm like, what is this sound? But the music is to indicate that your time is done. So I'm like, I shot out of there like a fucking cannon because I was like, yes, I'm free. I've done it. And I go to take a shower. because you're supposed to shower afterwards. But I just kind of rinsed off real quick. My hair had been up in like a messy bun as it is just all the time because I'm trash. And I put my clothes on and I go to find Kari. And I go out and she's not out yet. So I sit in the waiting room. I'm like 15 minutes later, still no Kari. And this place, we were the last people of the night. So it was like late. And this chick is like trying to close. And she was like, do you think your friend's okay? And I'm like, oh, did you just like not, you haven't heard from her? And she was like, no. And I was like, oh. And she was like, well, let me go knock on the door. So she goes and knocks on the door. Nothing.
The outside door, right? Like not my tank door.
No, the door to the room. And she was like, yeah, there's nothing. And so she comes back out and she's like, well, maybe she fell asleep in there. Which I didn't even think was a possibility, to be honest with you.
Maybe she's dead because she did run out of the air.
Right. And I was a little bit afraid you were dead. So part of me is not wanting to just bum rush you because I know that would be like a jarring experience and like you're naked and floating and have had like these earplugs in, you know? But then part of me is like, what if she only has 1 minute left before we can commit CPR and it'll do anything? So I'm kind of weighing these options. And this girl's like, so I can go in there and bang on the door or you can. Like of the actual tank. And I went in there and banged on the door like a couple times before you like you were just out.
I had never slept so well in my life. And then I hear the banging on the tank and I'm like, well, where's my music to ease me out of this?
Right. No, it was just me. It was your girl. Like, well, I didn't know if you were dead in there.
I didn't know if I was dead in there. Honestly, I wasn't even dreaming. I had some of the most restful sleep for, I don't know if it was 2 minutes. I don't know if it was 20. Could have been 42.
It was at least 25 because that's how long I was waiting for you to get out of there.
So pro tip, if you want to get a little extra float time in,
just fall asleep.
Just fall asleep.
But don't be surprised at the front desk, Gringa. I was like, so what do you do in these situations when they don't have a friend? And she was like, well, sometimes they just don't wake up and you have to like open the door and grab their ankle.
I would not be pleased by that.
No, I knew you wouldn't be.
Oh my God. I would write just a vicious letter of complaint.
Right. You're just naked and there's just some chick like grabbing your ankle.
The Better Business Bureau would hear about this.
No. And like, I feel like knowing that going back, I don't even think I could relax because I would just be so afraid that I would accidentally fall asleep and I would wake up to somebody just grabbing my ankle in the dark.
I don't even remember falling asleep. I don't remember feeling tired. I remember, what do I do with my hands? I remember getting the salt water in my eyes. I remember the water beating off of my skin and that being itchy and distracting. Don't remember falling asleep. Don't remember hallucinating. I didn't hallucinate, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, nothing really happened to me. It was just weird and wet and long. That was really my entire experience.
So I got out of there. I felt kind of embarrassed. I didn't know how embarrassed I should feel. I didn't know how long my time had run over. I was surprised that I had fallen asleep. I thought that Kelly was like knocking on my door because maybe she had freaked out and she was ready to go.
Yeah.
I really had no idea what was happening. So I get out and I take my shower and say thank you to the lady, apologize to the lady. She was pretty cool about it.
No, she was very chill. She was a nice girl.
Yeah, the vibes there were very good.
Yeah, very chill.
They had an excellent tea selection.
They did. I know you're the tea Gringa.
I love good teas. I like tea infusions. I like all kinds of teas. So I take a good shower. I washed my hair and everything. We're in the car on the way back. Did we drive with the top down?
Yeah, we did. Because Kari has this convertible and girlfriend has converted me that you just drive with the top down. It doesn't matter if it's snowing.
Well, no, if it's snowing, I won't do it. If it's like 30 degrees or warmer, then I will.
Yeah, because what you do is you just turn on those seat warmers.
You put
your hood up.
Yes.
And you blast the heat. And it's a lot like being in a hot tub in the cold.
Yes.
Instead of hot water, you're just in this like pocket of hot air.
Sometimes it gets too hot.
Yeah, you kind of stick your head up like a dog.
You gotta turn down the heat a little.
Yeah.
But it's a little warm.
It's pretty fantastic though. It's great.
No, I love it. It's a very liberating experience. So we're driving down the highway, air drying our hair, and I'm looking over at Kelly and I'm like, girl, what is in your hair?
We'll post the pictures up on Facebook. It looked like I was making rock candy in my hair.
That is a very good description.
So I really didn't appreciate just how salty this water was.
No, 850 pounds of Epsom salt is some salty water.
Yeah, like I thought it was like getting out of the ocean. Like it's salty, but you know, it's not that bad. And so I had just rinsed myself off and I never even took my hair out of my messy bun. But as this water started to dry, my entire head was just covered in salt crystals.
You look like old man Frost.
I did.
Just like came all over your hair.
Like I looked crazy.
You really did. And it was crunchy.
It was so and like just so solid and like really rock-like, like structural.
Yes.
You know, like you could really see the crystalline structure.
You could.
It was pretty great.
You were growing some stalactites.
Yeah, so I learned a lesson that you really should avail yourself of that shower.
Yeah. Use the shampoo.
Yeah, I just kind of rinsed off. I was like, no, we did it. Wrong.
No, and even after that, although I did wash my hair, the next morning I looked at my pillowcase and just salty.
No, I had to take a shower when we got back to the Sky Palace, and it was pretty late and I didn't want to be waking people up, but it was just like, it wasn't an option. I had to take a shower. So it was a quick shower. I at least got all the salt out of my hair. But when I woke up the next morning, I remember like running my hand over my lower back and it was just a crust of salt.
Oh God.
I was just like, there was like salt between my toes. I was just like, what is this?
Because it doesn't rinse off easily. You really have to like wash it off.
Yeah.
Maybe twice.
Yeah.
3 times. It takes a couple tries.
No, I failed at 2 showers.
I don't know if that's good for your hair.
I mean, I don't know. I was a little concerned because we had just gotten our hair done. Because you better believe the first thing we did when we got back to the States was get our hair done because we were looking rough, girl.
No, my assistant had made us those hair appointments before we even landed in Boston.
Yeah, it was the first thing we did. And we practically wept with joy.
We did.
We were looking really, really rough.
We did, but the ladies did such a good job.
Out of desperation, I'd put some like crazy Colombian grocery store red dye in my hair. And I had gone, one of the later on in the trip, I had gone out with, there was a guy I had been sort of seeing in Colombia, and I went to go see him we had breakfast together one day. And he was walking beside me on the street, and he was just like,
the light hit your hair.
It just hit my hair, and he was just like, have you always had this color? Like the nicest way.
Like, do you pick this?
Yeah, like was this
on purpose?
Someone dumped this on you from a window? Or
does somebody hate you?
No, like he's the sweetest. Like he didn't mean it that way, but I could just, the look on his face was just like, Gringa. Like I don't recall all of this.
This was not in your OkCupid profile.
No, and then that hair Gringa's face when I sat down in the chair and I confessed just right away that I'd put in Colombian grocery store hair dye in my hair, and she was just very, very disappointed in me.
No, that's not what you ever say. You know what you say instead? I was desperate and I went to Supercuts. They could only get me in, and you just blame it on some lady at Supercuts. I got a bad haircut one time. I wasn't ever going to tell them that my friend did that to me in high school, so I just blamed it on the lady at Supercuts. And the lady was like, was it the one with the dark curly hair? Because
like,
of course it was.
You're like, I think she was hitting the bottle. I don't know.
I will never go to Supercuts again for my hair dye needs.
Right.
No, why would you fess up to that yourself? But you did. I mean, you took it like a champ.
Right. So all of this is to say is I was not super excited to dunk my brand new fancy hair in this salt water. But so far, it didn't seem to make a huge difference, honestly.
No. And it was fine on my bleach blonde, I would say, too. Although you might have left that water a little pink.
I probably did. But you know what? It's fine.
The UV light's going to kill that.
Hell yeah.
So, Kelly, what do you think? Would you do that again?
I mean, I wouldn't be super excited about it because I didn't have a terrible experience, but I also didn't have a great experience either. It was just sort of an experience.
I think that it's kind of like when I first got into meditating. Can you be bad at meditating? I guess you can.
I am. I'm actively bad at it. I think that's why I'm bad at the tank.
I don't think you can be bad at it. Right? It just like it is, right? I have fallen into the groove of meditating, I will say, a little more than I had when I first started. And I kind of think that this is a similar type of situation.
Yeah.
I think that probably by my 10th float, I might be, Joe Rogan swears that he sees all kinds of crazy shit when he floats in a tank. and he works out all of his inner demons. And I've read in researching this.
Well, maybe he knows what to do with his hands.
Maybe he has really small hands. Maybe he has tiny little munchie arms or something. I don't know.
Maybe he had pool noodles just for his hands.
Oh, see, that would have been legit.
Maybe
I don't
know.
Some like floaty gloves. I think that there is room in the market for flotation accessories for these tanks. I think you really need an anchor. You need something to hold you in place.
Yeah, I think they just, we just have suggestions. That's all.
Or I need a much bigger flotation tank.
Yeah, so I'm not hitting the walls.
Yeah,
just pinwheeling.
So I would do it again. I think that I obviously felt very relaxed. I'm a very high-strung person.
You really are.
And that was a very stressful week for me.
It was.
And it was very beneficial. They say that you walk out. It was very beneficial for my mindset, I will say. They say that when you come out of a tank, you walk out with a glow. That could be the embarrassment from falling asleep in the tank. It could be the salt water.
I was going to say, mine was just sort of the sheen off my crystalline hair.
I mean, there could be a variety of reasons that you're walking out of that tank with a glow that lasts for days. But I would do it again. I would do it again in a package of 5.
Yeah, I think I need more of that. So we've started doing yoga. Mm-hmm. And I actually find it very easy to find my zen in yoga, but there's something about my body being engaged just to the point of discomfort that it takes up enough of my mind that I'm able to turn my mind off. Mm-hmm. And so that just works better for me. For me, I actually kind of need a little something to take up my mind for me to turn it off, if that makes sense. Like when I'm in the tank, I have nothing, and it's just a lot. That's harder for me, but I think I could probably learn to appreciate it if I just had more practice.
Do you know what I loved about the tank?
What?
I didn't get one text message, email. Nobody was like, "Hey, Kari, what do you think about this?" I didn't even ask myself, "Hey, Kari, what do you think about this?" I was just like, nap time.
That's awesome.
It was good. I've got no complaints, and I am happy that this was one of those things that overlapped on our bucket lists.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that we did it. I would do it again. It can get expensive.
Yeah, I think you can get like packages though.
Because how much was it? It was $75 for 90 minutes or $60 for 60 minutes, right?
Yeah. So it was $75 each. So not the cheapest of hobbies.
But maybe like, that's about the price of what? A really good mani-pedi.
Yeah, which to me is more relaxing, I got to tell you.
Yeah. You get a rub down with that?
Mm-hmm. The hot stones?
I would really like to pair a float with some spa services. Like maybe get a nice relaxing massage beforehand and then get into the tank.
Yeah. I feel like maybe, you know what else? I feel like just like 2 glasses of wine before the tank.
Or just like a handful of mushrooms.
That might have helped a little with my desire to trip balls.
I know. Just, Gringa, you take 3 hits of LSD.
No. I would have come undone, I'm sure of that.
I had some guy tell me, this was years ago, that you don't really know yourself until you've taken a tab of LSD and sat in a dark closet in complete pitch black by yourself for at least an hour. And I was like, really? He is an accountant? So I wasn't expecting this out of him.
No.
And I was just like, all right, man, you are way more hardcore than I ever thought. But I really wouldn't want to mix my media that way, I don't think.
No, I really wanted it to be a pure experience. I really wanted to just experience the float. And I did. And I got to see what that was. And I do feel like I learned something about myself in there, which is that turning off is not super easy for me. And that in and of itself is an insight.
We worked all day before we went there, though.
Right.
So it was like work all day, drive for an hour, get to the float place. It was a weird experience. I think part of the lack of relaxation was that it was totally, we didn't even know if we were supposed to go naked or not.
Right. And so it was all new. I didn't really know what to expect.
The prison shower was weird.
It is. Just stripping down and taking a prison shower is not the best way to get me to feel relaxed.
When those flip-flops looked really prison showery, didn't they?
Yeah, so it was kind of, I think maybe the novelty, I think the novelty of the experience made it a little harder to unwind. Right. So maybe, like you said, maybe if there was if you had a package of 5 or something, do it a bunch in a row, maybe then it becomes more relaxing.
And you get a better deal.
Yeah. I mean, I think I probably would do it again. In fact, knowing me, I probably will do it again, actually.
No, I would like to. I think that there are float places in Montreal, and I'd like to revisit this now that I know what to expect. But I would recommend, if you have the money, if you're inclined, if you want to try floating in an isolation tank, spring for the 5-package option, because you're going to be weirded out the first time. I don't think you're going to get like the full experience. Now I know what to do with my hands. I know she's not kidding when she says don't touch your eyes. You know to shower real well afterward.
Yeah, we learned a lot, and we can pass this wisdom on to you. But I do think, get the package. I think I would agree with that. I think that's totally worth it. If you really want to experience, I think you need to do it.
And if you want to see what this isolation tank looks like, we took a video. Kelly took a video. You can see the lady who threatened to grab me by the ankle.
Sounds like a horror movie. You're just floating in black water, and then all of a sudden, like a hand.
Oh God, a stranger's hand. I would have shot up out of there and throat punched her.
I know. That's why she's like, well, I can just go in and grab her ankle. And I was like, no, girl, just let me.
You don't want to do that, I don't think.
You don't want to take your life into your hands that way.
No, I am feisty.
Yeah.
I am feisty and high strung. You don't want that.
Yeah, you don't. You just don't. You don't want a piece of this.
So you can check out the video of what this flotation tank looks like. You can, there's video of the prison shower too.
Yeah, we've got it all. We'll put it all up on Facebook.
You don't want to miss Kelly's hair. Like,
it's pretty good.
It was great.
I was looking good.
So I think that wraps this.
I think we did it. If you have any questions, hit us up on the Facebook page.
Ooh, we would love to hear about your flotation experiences.
Yeah, and if you happen to know what to do with your hands,
please tell us.
Shoot us a message.
I feel like, have you ever taken photos, like professional photos? And it's very similar. What do you do with your hands? Like, you never think about your hands until you're in a photo situation. Right. And then you're like, is it on the hip? Is it
over here?
I don't
like
above my head?
Just like,
I don't know.
Yeah.
So tell us what to do with your hands. Did you hallucinate? I want to know. What did you see?
Yeah.
Because I saw nothing.
Yeah, we want some details.
And I think we're going to do this again in Montreal, and maybe we'll report back.
Alrighty. Sounds good. All right. Goodbye, friends.
Bye.
This has been another episode of the Workationing podcast. If you like what you heard here, make sure to like, rate, subscribe, and leave us a review on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, or wherever else on the internet you're hearing this.
You can also go to workationing.com. That's workationing.com.
Look straight ahead. Right there. Hang on. Oh, I'm really happy that wasn't connected to your face.
Oh, that would have been sad.
No, it really would. But I wasn't going to let you have a 3-inch long hair hanging out of your cheek.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot.
Friends are for.
Thanks. That would be really traumatizing. Like right in the middle.
You'd have to watch that from now on. You'd wonder how long it was there.
I'll be like, that guy never called me again because he saw my cheek hair.
How sexy would it be if you were like, you've got a little fuzz, and then like your cheek goes out?
I just have one werewolf hair. Don't mind me. Like, sorry. He's always shit. Is it a full moon? I gotta go.